Hello and welcome everyone to Sword and Tea. At whatever time of day it is, whether it's morning tea, your Irish breakfast, English breakfast, afternoon tea, perfect time, and evening tea, something to settle down to. Whether you're Val and it's 1 a.m, maybe tea's not best then, but lots of times are good for tea. I'm trying to do my calmest NPR voice. I hope that's coming across well. I am Derek Sword. I am your host for today's Sword and Tea, as I speak with very wonderful Val, who has been charitable enough to share his evening with us, his early morning with us, and discuss the game I'm very excited to chat about, The Beast Within. So Val, welcome.
Happy to be here.
Very happy to have you. Where might people know you from? What are some things that you are currently doing in the online spaces, TTRPG spaces, any of that stuff?
Sounds great. Hi everyone, I'm Valiant Dorian. I use he, his pronouns. I'm a TTRPG performer and Twitch variety streamer. You might know me from Transplant RPG, where I play Voska, the Paragon Diffuser. We just wrapped up our Arc 8 finale of The Second Stranger, and my character's epilogues are now live on Transplant RPG's YouTube channel. You can find me all around the internet at Valiant Dorian or at Otso Spirit Bear. Please enjoy that lovely treasure hunt I just set you on. And I do a bunch of random things, and apparently right now I am also a TTRPG game designer, creating my first ever TTRPG in The Beast Within and talking about it today here, and that's very exciting.
Those are all factual things.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Yeah. I personally have enjoyed several of your performances, as your recent ones were mentioning. I highly encourage everyone to check those out. Val's a wonderful performer, and from what I've read, an excellent game designer. So, Val, we're going to talk about beasts and all that kind of stuff. I think folks should be able to determine from your shirt, from mine, that we are both appreciators of the lycanthropic, or as you more appropriately designated, therianthropic animal, or manimals, sure.
Manimals, yeah.
Manimals, yeah. Because as you know, some folks often try to use, including the big, which is the Ghost Company, try to use the word lycanthrope for anybody that can turn into an animal, but that's not etymologically. We'll say that's a word. It's not accurate. Therianthrope is the proper term if you turn into anything besides a werewolf. Fantastic. Okay, well, I personally, that was the first thing that I fell in love with, was Val is actually using the right terminology. So
the terminology we have is inadequate, especially when you branch out into other types of werebeasts. Because that's the term you use, is werebeasts. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. And you have a variety to choose from just right off the bat. We'll definitely get to those. The first thing I want to know is what got you, like, where does your interest in therianthropes and maybe monsters in general, where does that kind of stem from for you?
Oh, I think growing up, I've always kind of like consumed a lot of high fantasy content, because a lot of my brother's interests became my own interests as the youngest sibling in the family. So Lord of the Rings, Gargoyles was a big fave of ours growing up.
Disney's Gargoyles?
Yes, good old school Gargoyles.
100%.
Okay, with the incredible intro by the voice actor who plays Goliath, which is very, very good. But specifically with therianthropes, I think the main inspiration that kind of like got me loving werebeasts and therianthropes and inspired me to create this game is a very, very old, kind of obscure PlayStation 1 video game called Bloody Roar.
I'm sorry, most people can't see this.
Eva just made a face, and I was just like, oh, did I strike a nerve here? Am I unlocking?
You and I have just become best friends. I have a certain level of, let's call it, mental illness, where I will go on just long diatribes about weird niche things I found as a kid. I loved Bloody Roar, and was explained to Eva the other night. I was like, no, you don't understand. They can turn into an emperor penguin or some sort of phoenix monster.
Phoenix, yes!
Okay.
Yes, Bloody Roar Primal Fury. Yes,
Please
I do remember.
say all the things. Yes, we're good.
All right, so Derek and I are having a moment here, but for everyone in chat, so Bloody Roar is started off as a PlayStation 1 video game. Well, actually started off as an arcade game. The first Bloody Roar, where folks play as werebeasts that transform, and it is a fighting game. And that was the first ever Bloody Roar game I played was Bloody Roar 2, and it was for the PlayStation 1. And I played it with my brother, and we loved that game. We played the heck out of that game. For those of y'all who have played that game, I'm a long main. I love my my tigers.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
I love long with my whole heart. It's long and Yugo.
Okay.
I love them. And the later games had some very, very interesting iterations. I believe the fans have generally, as a general consensus, agreed that Primal Fury is the best iteration.
That was the one I started with on GameCube. Yeah.
Yes.
I was a stun main. I like my big boys.
Ooh, so stun is the insect, which is one of the main inspirations of like.
That's
Bloody
actually
Roar.
where my brain went. Yeah. Hercules beetle. Yeah.
Yeah. So the Beast Within was heavily inspired by Bloody Roar and the idea that like we have a lot of games and media in general that kind of talk about lycanthropic but stuff, and other stuff is just skimmed and very, very surface level exploration. And I wanted to do something about that. And the fact that also there aren't a lot of TTRPGs that kind of do a fighting game-esque experience within its combat systems of having like, hey, you could do cool shit, but you could also get your shit rocked in equal measure within the span of a second. And I wanted to be able to create a really dynamic combat system. So yeah, so for those of y'all who know about the Bloody Roar, you can Google it. There's some really cool stuff in terms of aesthetics. A lot of the aesthetics of my game kind of follow Bloody Roar 2's like grunge, 90s rocker sort of aesthetics back then.
I fully respect that. Yeah, I remember playing Bloody Roar, and there would be like end cutscenes that were in anime, and I was like, there's lore to this that me as a child, not having full access to the internet, is not getting. Like, I like the guy with the white hair and the red suit, and he turns into some sort of weird xenomorph thing. I don't know anything about. He seems like an asshole, but he looks cool. So
Derek, you don't want to know the lore for that guy.
It didn't seem great. It seemed very eugenics heavy. So, but he looked like Maximilian Pegasus
great.
From Yu-Gi-Oh, so there was that. Yeah. I fully appreciate. I love that Bloody Roar has come back to my life. And you're in the Seattle area, come over to the farm. We'll play it on the GameCube.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's fantastic. We could literally talk about Bloody Roar series this entire time.
We really could, but yeah,
we're not going to. I do want to know, as we're kind of on this topic, what is, as you mentioned, lycanthropes kind of get a lot of the attention. There are not a lot of movies. There are a few, there's werecat movies and a couple others, but werewolves really get the brunt of the attention, especially in Western media. And I think that's because werewolves themselves stem from Western lore, Western media, werewolves, being heavily interpreted or heavily influenced from stories in Germany and France. So something I really like about what you're doing, not only pulling from Bloody Roar, but also incorporating all of these other things, is you are also incorporating the lore of other therianthropes from throughout the world, because there are shapeshifters in almost every single culture's mythology. If you go to Africa, you've got were-crocodiles, you've got were-jackals, were-hyenas. Even in the D&D book, to reference back to it, if you look at a were-tiger, they're very Asian coded just by what they're wearing and the weapons they're carrying. So was that a part of it as well, was trying to kind of expand out and be a little bit more culturally respective of these?
That, and also kind of when we talk about the werewolves and when we talk about the stories that werewolves are kind of like associated with, there is definitely a like critical cultural lens that we have to like consider a lot of like the werewolves and what they are, what stories of werewolves are representative of. And it's always stories about like the Western idea of like outcasts and the undesirables within society. And I wanted to, and that was kind of what I was like alluding to in terms of like, yes, there's a lot of like content and media that like showcases lichens and lycanthropic aspects, but a lot of the things that are explored are like what these stories are really focused on, which is themes and stories about ostracization from society, the kind of pathologization of being different, almost to the extent of coding it as a disease. Lycanthropic is always most of the time depicted as like an allusion to that of a disease and things like that, which made sense because that was a lot of the stories that were being told in folklore. But I also wanted to explore stuff like bears. So, for example, and my partner, who is also the co-designer and artist for The Beast Within, Max Daisy, he is of Nordic heritage, and he loves telling me all these stories, you know, Viking stories of being an incredible warrior and blessed by the gods, so much so that warriors turned into berserkers. And it's said in some of these stories that they're able to even manifest and transform to the form of that of a bear.
Yes,
and
absolutely.
that's a cool story to explore. Were tigers, we have a lot in Desi culture and in Hindu mythology and things like that. There are a lot of shapeshifters in general, and we do have a lot of deities, celestial beings, entities that are not celestial beings that are shapeshifters, and a lot of them are animal associated with different animal forms. And that also is a huge inspiration behind this, because I was like, hey, there's some really, really cool animals that just don't get the rep that they deserve or the attention for how cool they are. And it'd be really, really nice to explore anthropomorphizing them and giving them cool abilities for folks to be able to experience playing them, you know?
Absolutely. Yeah, actually, you even saying that reminds me to tie it back to Bloody Roars. I'm probably going to do 1,000 times, but there's the elephant character Ganesh, because even in contemporary religions, you have animalistic or you know, anthropomorphic kind of deities, and then you know, if you want to tie that back even further to the Egyptians, who most of their gods had animalistic anthropomorphic concepts to them. So yeah, much to your point, the berserkers, which as someone with Nordic heritage, I also love the berserker stories. It translates to bear shirt. It was the Romans looking at a person who was high on mushrooms that they had just found, running naked at them, wearing nothing else but a bear, like a bear skin with a battle axe. And the Romans were like, we need to leave Germany immediately. Fully respect that energy. It's great energy to have.
It's very, very good. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, a lot of, I mean, even like you were saying, we're therianthropics, lycanthropes, especially lycan being the origin of the name, being a being from Greek mythology who was cursed, where much of the turning into an animal is a curse. It's only later in the Middle Ages, in Western culture at least, that people were intentionally doing it, and even then they were doing it so they could become devilish. It was an evil thing for them to search out. So it's never been seen as like this great thing, even though oftentimes in media it's portrayed, it's very heavily tied into puberty a lot. You know, Ginger Snaps is a great movie which very heavily ties in a woman going through puberty to also getting hair in weird places, and there's, oh no, there's blood everywhere. I mean, it's not a one-to-one, but they try to tie that in together. So it's very interesting that you also don't necessarily make that a curse, that it's a gift, but there are absolutely drawbacks in the rules as well. So let's go ahead and we'll jump back into media probably later, but let's definitely talk about the game. So The Beast Within, wanting to tell were creature stories, were beast stories. Tell me a little bit about mechanics. It's a D12 system. So You mentioned your partner, one of the co-creators. Let's go ahead and shout out the rest of the creators while we're at it.
Yes, so we're in an all trans team. It consists of myself as the main designer for The Beast Within. My co-designer is Max Daisy, and also one of the artists. And he is basically the man who hears my ideas and goes, "Are you sure you want to do that?" and makes nice art and soundboards a lot of my ideas. And also our incredible artist, Griffin Nichols, also known as @Baronborn all across the internet. And he is our artist for a lot of the beast archetypes. And he's also the artist for our trading card that you can purchase as part of your the pledges that you pledge at. He'll be doing the art for the special art for those trading cards. But yeah, we're an all trans team. I love working with them because we're all big fans of Werebeasts in general. In fact, Griffin and I, we were friends for ages, and one of the times I was like, "Oh my goodness, there's this game I really loved, but like I knew you would love it, like because you're a furry and I'm a furry, and you would love this game. It's called Bloody Roar." He reaches out to me, holds my hand, he says, "Val, I have a GameCube. I have Bloody Roar Primal Fury. Do you want me to hook it up? We'll play it right now." And I'm like, "Yes!" So
that's practically a marriage proposal in some cultures. So that's great. Okay, so I didn't want to ask. I respect the freedom.
Yes.
So I was, because some of the art leans a little bit into that, and has kind of that
this game is full of furries. Absolutely.
Okay. 100%. Yeah,
made by furries, for furries, and to folks who may not identify as such. I know a lot of folks are not necessarily super aware of like what being a furry or what the furry fandom necessarily entails. It just means you like anthropomorphize animals, and that's about it. And my friend Griffin is the main precursor to me joining the furry fandom. He designed my first persona, which is a bear. Which as soon as he did that, I was like, I'm in now, right? He's like, "Yeah, you're in now." And I'm like, "Okay." That's our team.
I definitely feel like this game does have the Venn diagram of furries and monster fuckers, and there absolutely is crossover between the two.
Absolutely.
They don't want to say there is, but as a monster fucker, I'm willing to admit that there's a little crossover.
Yeah, there definitely is. Yep.
But the art is fantastic. It isn't just your straight up ripped Hugh Jackman in Van Helsing kind of werewolf. It definitely shows it shows a variety to the type of werebeasts you can be, the body types you can have. I appreciate that in the art as well. But yeah, so tell me a little bit more about, you gave me some character creation stuff, which I absolutely love. Tell me a little bit more about what you kind of imagine gameplay looking like. What does an ideal game of The Beast Within look like to you?
An ideal game for The Beast Within, it's really hard to describe, because as the longer I think about it, I think the more I'm realizing I'm literally creating a system rather than like an inherent game in of itself. Because I've been on interviews for The Beast Within, especially by a crowdfunder, and they're like, "Cool, like what is the game about? Like what is your objective?" And I'm like, "Well, really, and then I would think about it, and I'm like, wow, well, really, I'm giving you the tools to create your story." Because an ideal session for me with The Beast Within is one where you're like, I've got a story, I've got a premise. Perhaps your premise is a Mortal Kombat meets Yu Yu Hakusho, a battle royale where
that could never work, Val. What are you talking about?
Like a battle royale, and there are entities and people who are involved in the setup of this whole battle royale that are a little sus, and you and your team are trying your best to survive this battle royale while inconvenient things happen to you. Maybe you are a therianthrope that lives in a cyberpunk-ish future, but where and there's been a slew of murders, and you and your friends must go and investigate these slew of murders and find the serial killer before time runs out. So I guess the idea of the Beast Within is I want to give folks the tools to be able to tell stories featuring beasts in any and every genre they see fit, and that's kind of what I realized what I've been creating so far.
I love that.
Yeah.
So yeah, setting agnostic, that's fantastic.
Yep.
I love games like that because you are essentially making a game that can be plugged in to any other game, like almost a mini game of sorts. You could use this for Blades in the Dark. You're doing a heist. Congratulations, you're also a were-chameleon. You are you get these extra things, but oh no, there's drawbacks as well. It's we've switched over to a mini game within the game. That's fantastic. I love that you can do this anywhere. Old West, pirate adventures in space.
Old West and pirate adventure with the Beast Within would be very fun, and I would like to see that happen.
As someone who recently used a were shark, and what I really appreciate about your system, because I also primarily at least on this channel stream D&D, and recently in couple of months ago we did an all lycanthrope, because that's the term they used, all werebeast one shot, and there was a module that we used, and it was good, it was fine, but definitely they make the drawbacks, I don't want to say openly problematic. There's a level where it's like, this would maybe work for some stories, it doesn't work for others. I like that in yours, there's not like, oh, you have bloodlust and you need to eat people. It's like, no.
There's
an animal with it. There's a ferocity, there's a fury to it, but there's not like there's not a murder hobo-ness to it. And Eva was in that game. Eva's our producer. We keep referencing her even though none of you can see. We had some folks in that game. It was kind of, werewolf hunt turned on its head sort of thing, where the werewolves were being hunted themselves. But I very much like what you've done with your rules to kind of create that. So let's actually talk about the mechanics here real quick, because you do have some interesting kind of I don't want to say, again, it's not necessarily drawbacks. You have your banes and your boons. So so let's talk about let's see here. Let's go ahead and go down for what you got for character creation. So let's talk about stats. So you have some different stats to this than someone might see in other TTRPGs. Tell me a little bit about those.
So in the Beast Within, we've got your 5 main stats. We have strength. I'm not completely married to this name. Every time I read out loud, I think I could give it a better name, but we have got strength, which are your physical capabilities, your agility, which is about dexterity and speed, mettle, which is how much punishment and how hardy you are as a person, however you want to interpret hardiness to mean. I had my co-designer suggest that the human archetype for college students should have a high mettle, because if you decide to go into grad school, you are made of different stuff, and you deserve to have a higher mettle. You are broken inside and still moving. 100%. Exactly. We have gravitas, which is your natural presence, your charm, your allure within certain social situations, whether that means being naturally intimidating or persuasive. And then there's instinct, which is how attuned you are to changes around you, how wise and knowledgeable you are to what's happening around you. So those are your main statistics here in the Beast Within. That's what you'll be rolling with. This is your fun little things you get to put your little numbers against to design your character.
Gotta have math part of it. We all have to do math sometimes.
I know it sucks. I don't like math.
It's good for us. It's good for us as adults to do math sometimes. It gives a little bit of practice. And then you have modifiers attached to those as well. How does your modifier system work?
So we have a static modifier system. And what I mean by that is we have numbers, a set of numbers that you get, and those are your numbers. So the modifiers are a +2, a +1, a 0, then a -1, and a -2. And what I mean by it being static is that the kind of point of the Beast Within is, especially with the D12 system, is to have failure actually happen. Because failure is a really, really key mechanic in the game that we'll probably talk more in a second. And to help ensure that failure does happen and there's that actual feel of risk and reward. There's no traditional advancement for your stats and modifiers. You don't hit a level and go, all right, now you can make your -2 into a 0 or a +1 now after leveling up as such. You can get a boost from items or from specific ability effects, but they're buffs more than a permanent advancement in the stat.
So how are the +2s, +1s, -1s, -2s? How are those divvied out? Are those based on your stat numbers?
No, so these are so you basically receive this list of numbers, and when you create your character, when you create your character, so let's say I'm creating a character named Ali, who is a grad. We talked about college student, a grad student weremole who is kind of exploring this like 90s grunge city pop Japan aesthetic of a place, and I am now creating this character, and I want him to be kind of a hardy person, not a lot of gravitas. So I'd probably put my -2 in gravitas, for example. I'd probably give my +2 into instinct, and then I would divvy up those numbers to whatever I would deem is appropriate for the character and what fits within my concept of the character.
Gotcha. Okay. I know a lot of people are out there that will scream against a dump stat, but I do agree with you that failure is important in the game. It is narratively important to fail sometimes. For God's sakes, let your GM have you fail from time to time. Don't just
stares at every D&D class as expertise.
Yeah, you can't min-max your werebeast. I'm sorry.
I'm sure someone will find a way to look at my system and min-max, even though I'm trying my hardest to not let that happen.
There's always that person out there. There's nothing you can do about them. Just let them play their game. They're not gonna have as much fun.
I'm like, someone's going to find. Every time I design this game and I'm coming up with abilities, I'm like looking at it and I'm going, what is that one person going to do with this werebeast though? What is that one person who has like math in their head and knows like who can see into the matrix do with this to a poor GM out there?
Yeah, instead of like breaking the lottery, they're screwing over their GM. Yeah. So you call difficulty in your game, you call it adversity,
yes.
Which other in D&D terms to reference it might be what literally just saw it. The critical rating maybe, or that's the difficulty. I literally lost.
Yeah, Cypher calls it like a task. You roll for a task, things like that. Yeah. I call it adversity.
I like that because yes, you are overcoming adversity. So much to your point of failure being important in the game. Yes, it is important narratively, but also it gives you a resource. Is that correct?
Yes, it is give you a resource. One of the main things I wanted to explore in The Beast Within is kind of keying in a little bit to the idea in media with werebeasts and lycanthropes. A huge theme is rage, but I feel like a lot of the rage that is kind of explored lacks agency, because a lot of the time it's you are experiencing monstrosity, and therefore the person who's inside is not feeling this. It's the beast within that's doing this. And while in some cases that's an interesting story to tell, I wanted in this game to kind of like have players have more ownership of that story and ownership of that rage and that anger. And so thinking about that, I also, as in TTRPG and being someone who's played a lot of different systems now, failure sometimes sucks and you don't get a lot for it. A lot of the times in a lot of games, like when you have failure, it's kind of like, okay, what can we do with this? not all games are designed like PBTA where there's kind of like gray areas, or Monster Hearts where it is a resource that you can use later on to get experience for advancement.
Right.
So I was considering, okay, how do I create a system that actually incentivizes the player to just roll with it, roll with the failure, and see it give you a victory later. And I came up with the Wrath system. And the way Wrath functions is that if a player fails to overcome their adversity, they gain a point of Wrath. And every time you fail and if you choose to fail for narrative reasons, you can also be granted a point of Wrath as well. And you can accumulate these points in your Wrath pool. And what you can do with these Wrath points is you can expend them in a future roll that you make to gain a mechanical or narrative boon from your GM. So a way this would play out in a scenario is you're in combat. You're literally fisticuffs with someone. Your punches not landing. Your kicks not landing. This enemy has outsmarted you time and time and time again. You failed 2 to 3 times in a row. You've gained 3 Wrath points. And then in that one moment of narrative prowess, you say to your GM, hey, I want to expend my 3 points so that I can recover part of my spirit pool, so I can use a special ability and just claw them in the face and kick them away. And your GM will have to go, fantastic, you do that, expend those points and tell me how you beat this person up. And then your player can finally have this moment of agency of like, yes, I'm being like knocked back by this person, I'm being cornered, but in this enemy's like gloating and showboating and arrogance, I see one moment of weakness and I'm able to retaliate. I wanted to kind of like be able to give that like vindication, that level of I have learned from the mistakes of you chatting, or I found a moment of weakness to progress the narrative arc in that moment. So that's how Wrath works, basically.
I absolutely love that. I love it, and this might be the darker side of my brain, but I'm like, I could fail at everything and just like get this wonderful pool of Wrath points. But no, you have made, because much to your point, in a lot of games out there, a lot of the bigger ones, you didn't hit, okay, next. Who's the next person? But what's your point? Yeah,
and that sucks. Imagine waiting. Imagine like, especially in D&D, right? Imagine waiting through like 3-4 other players for your turn, and like maybe like 4 other NPCs' turns. It's finally your turn. You've gone through 8 turns to finally do your thing, and then you roll and you miss.
Yeah.
And there's nothing you can do about it.
Happens. Yeah. It's just gone.
It's binary.
All the
You're
time.
like, oh, okay, time to wait another 10 minutes so it's back to me again. So yeah.
But no, I really like what you're doing, because much to your point with Monster of the Week, with Monster Hearts, they both do the same thing. You fail, you get a point towards advancement.
Yes.
It's a reward for later. It's incentivizing the patience of the player. And this is the same thing. You absolutely, if you want to fail once, use your thing. It's minor. It's fine. It's still successful. But if you like really stack that shit up, man, like you can do some damage with this.
You can absolutely do some damage. There is a rule in The Beast Within where I want to encourage people to spend them. By saying your Wrath pool will empty at the end of a session, or if your GM decides, if your GM decides an end of a session is like maybe the end of like the story beat, that can also be end of the session. But yeah, so I wanted to encourage folks to use it and find those opportunities in the narrative. Yeah,
I love the narrative aspect of it. It's not like bottling up your feelings. It's like literally holding back an animal from breaking out and taking control. And at a certain point, you can't hold back anymore. And you try to just make it strategic. It's like, the gun's gonna go off. It's just where you can point it and hope it's gonna be effective. The tiger's gonna get out of the cage. I absolutely love that. And yeah, I love failing up. It's a fantastic aspect. Okay, let's go ahead and talk a little bit about the beast archetypes that you have, at least for the version that I have, and maybe some
Mm-hmm.
ideas you might have for the future. So
Oh,
go ahead and
absolutely.
yeah, walk me through some of the beast archetypes that you have so far.
So we have 10. We have
Hmm.
10 that'll be released to the main
Just a
release.
handful, sure.
Just a handful, just a few. We have 10. It is a lot, but I wanted to explore as many that I could, as many interesting ones as I could. We obviously have the werewolves, our canine. They're known as the Canis beast archetype. And the way I'm structuring archetypes is not by werewolf, were tiger, were bear, because that will become extremely prescriptive. I'm more interested in types of animals, so it gives players and folks room to kind of like create in that space. So if you wanted to be a were hyena, you could use the Canis archetype to do so.
Hmm.
So we got the Canis, we have the Felis, which are our big cats or small cats. I'm not the boss of you. You could be a domestic cat, where Felis. I'm not gonna stop you. I'm not gonna kick down your door in your home as you're playing this game and tell you not
They
to
are
do that.
some of the deadliest cats out there, the little ones.
Listen,
You know?
I played Bloody Roar. We do have a cat that like we're beasts in that game. She's an interesting character design. Not my favorite, but she's there.
It's just prime cat girl. It's okay.
She really is just a cat girl. I'm like,
just big paws, just cat. Yeah.
It's so funny. We have our bovines, which typically are encapsulating ungulates like cows, buffaloes, and rhinos. Leopards, which are your rabbits and hares. For the people that want to live their Wallace and Gromit lives and be their own were-rabbit, I made this for you. Talents, which are your burrowing mammals, so moles, shrews, gophers. Insectae, for the stun mains out there who want to be a beetle, who want to be an insect, you can play that.
Who didn't watch Big Bad Beetleborgs and not want to be a giant Hercules beetle? I ask the world.
It's true. It's very, very fun. We have our Ursa, which are the werebears, the Lacertae, which are miscellaneous reptiles, but including iguanas, chameleons, and lizards. The Chiropteras, which are your bats, and the Aves, which are your birds. You can play eagles, pigeons, parrots. Again, I'm not the boss of you. You want to be a were pigeon? You go ahead. I believe in you and your story.
Be that trash bird that we all know.
Be that trash bird. Be that trash bird. Give yourself max stats in metal and like and -2 in gravitas.
Just eat cigarette butts from off the ground, you filthy thing.
Yeah, what am I gonna do? I can't tell you otherwise.
I absolutely love all these. Again, I love the variation because it definitely shows the thought that you put in. When I saw Insectae for the first time, I was like, oh wow, this is definitely branching off. This is not something I've seen in other places, and it definitely takes a step away from the, oh, you got bit by a wolf, now you're going to turn into one. You know, maybe it definitely has.
Get bit by a spider. You're not Spider-Man. Yeah.
No, you're man spider. It's different, but yeah. Yeah, maybe. I mean, there's the whole lore. Like, if you drink water out of a wolf's paw print, like a puddle, you'll turn into a werewolf. It's hard to do for ants, not impossible.
Yep.
Get a very fine straw. So I love this. What would be if you were to add one more, 10 more, whatever the number would be? What are some other ideas that that might come down later?
Yeah, so for folks who have seen the crowdfunding page, we do have stretch goals for additional beast archetypes because I don't know how to stop. It's why I have a co-designer who tells me, make these 10 first. Don't think about these other ones. So a few ideas that I've had are a serpentine werebeast archetype known as Nagas. So in terms of visuals, I kind of imagine them to be anthropomorphized snake folk, kind of like the Nagas in D&D, kind of that similar style, but more monstrous in nature.
Nagas have a lot of words attributed to them, but you're thinking more like human, like almost like a snake centaur. but
Yeah.
serpentine on the top. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. And we'll have Cervits, the deer werebeast archetype, and the Selekai, which are the shark werebeast archetype, werebeast that I would really love to have. And I've also further up in the stretch goals, we have tortoise werebeast, horses for the horse girls out there, and the Anorae, which are the amphibian werebeast archetype. So if you want to be a werefrog, you can.
Okay.
So those are some ideas that I have.
Those are very interesting ideas. And even when I was looking at this, I was like, oh, this is very comprehensive. But then I hear you say that, I'm like, wait, it's not. There's so many more.
There's someone in my chat while I was talking about the Beast Within really early on while I was streaming on Twitch was like, I would love to be an electric eel werebeast. And I was like,
yeah,
that's cool as hell. That's brilliant. I need to think about that. That would be really cool.
I know this is setting agnostic. If you ever do a setting, I really want the Beast Within Australia, where just everything is super deadly, super weird.
Everything is horrific and terrifying.
Where koalas, where giant spiders. I mean, whatever could possibly. Just everything is very bad and very large.
Everything is bad. You know, I guess we could do a terrible like Australian like were spider. Yeah, that would be horrific and terrifying. Maybe that should be a monster in our upcoming anthology of adversaries. Is that I just have a section that's just like, hey, if you ever think of having your setting be just worse Australia, here's your chapter.
My new nightmare is were kangaroo. Kangaroos themselves are dangerous enough.
Were kangaroo was definitely on the list, but I was just like, this is a little terrifying. I'm gonna come back to this.
Even we're discussing these last night as I was reading over them, and I was like, oh, there's the bovines, ungulates, cows, buffaloes, rhinos, and Eva goes, oh, where rhinos sound really interesting. It's like, it's Ninja Turtles, honey. It's
Ninja Turtles. Yes.
Yeah. Live your best Ninja Turtle dreams. If you want to be a Bebop Rocksteady, go for it.
Yeah, absolutely. If you want to be a were-hippo, you go ahead and do that. Oh, and another idea I really want to make a reality one day is we're crocodile or we're alligators.
Oh yes, yeah.
They're cool. We gotta make it happen.
Not to prescribe setting, but also you could absolutely do where prehistoric animals, do some where dinosaurs.
With dinosaurs, absolutely.
Yeah, maybe not go to like pre-Cambrian where it's just a bunch of goopy things and shells, but maybe like the things that evolved, like that Gorgonopsid's pretty good.
It'd be really cool to see someone kind of like play into some of these like older animals, like that one dog that allegedly evolves into a whale. I forgot the name of that dog.
Yes, yeah.
I'm like, I would love to see that. I would love to see that. Please do that. If you do this in your game, please tell me. At me on Twitter. I want to know.
Yeah, which technically you could probably use the what would probably be best for that. Probably the Felis for that, because they were
probably the Felis. Yeah.
Yeah, they were like rhino-sized saber-toothed cats that just evolved into whales. They're fantastic. They're terrifying.
Every time I learn about evolution, I'm more bewildered by how the world works. It's great.
Yeah, it's just that 1,000-yard stare of how we got to where we are.
Yeah.
And then you go online, you're like, oh, evolution's still happening. Obviously, a bunch of people got left behind. So
yeah.
When we're talking about, because you have a lot of different types of were creatures and a lot of different abilities to them, whereas for example, leopard, a rabbit might be able to jump higher, but a bat can be able to fly. How do you manage the abilities that each of these archetypes would have?
So my approach so far, again, I've not at all done with designing all these archetypes, just letting the folks know.
Fair. Yeah.
I am one of them. We're a team of 3 and I'm the main writer. I have maybe written about half of them. And my approach to it is, because The Beast Within is a narrative focused game, I'm avoiding crunch. I'm more interested in the broad strokes that an ability can provide you. So for example, let's talk about the Canis. We love our werewolves. Let's give them a little bit more love before we talk about literally any other of the werebeasts. A few of my ideas for the beast archetypes is that your advancement is till tier 5. So for each of the tiers, you get 3 abilities, and those abilities are like different aspects of your weird beast self that you can explore. And so the way that would work is, so for example, the Canis, you could have an ability called Discerning Scent. And it can work similarly to that of like Keen Mind from D&D, where you're really good at identifying scents. If you smell something that is familiar to you, you remember it for a month. And if you smell that again, you're able to identify and like track it better. You can get a bonus to your roll when you're doing rolls against adversity relating to scent or relating to identifying a scent, things like that. But in terms of combat abilities, for example, one of the abilities the Canis has is called the God, I have forgotten my own ability. My goodness, come back to me.
You're doing a lot of writing. It is understandable
yes,
to not have it on
Tear and Toss is what it's called.
Okay.
So if you make when you succeed in attacking, making an attack against your enemy, you can choose to grip your opponent and then toss them away from you. And to do that, you make a strength roll against adversity. And that could be one way that manifests. Another thing that I haven't quite fully written out yet, but it is how I intend for these abilities to work, is that you can have special beast abilities. I'm imagining like the combo moves in your favorite fighting game, Bloody Roar, and and doing really cool moves. And to do that, you have to expend points from a pool known as your spirit pool. And in fact, your spirit pool is the main way you're going to be able to even shift into your werebeast form in general. So for example, at tier 1, the base tier for being a werebeast, you would have to expend 1 point to just transform. But once you're transformed, you're able to use all 3 of those abilities in tier 1. But as you advance, there will be special abilities, special combos that you'll be able to do, but it requires you to expend some spirit to use it.
Sure.
Things like
yeah,
that.
Using those resources at the higher levels. You can only turn into your werebeast form. You can do it at will, which I also appreciated.
Yes.
I suppose if you wanted to, if you were running a game like this, you could make the moon a part of it. I mean, I'd imagine that, if a GM was running this, you could be werebeast all the time. But I do like your mechanic that you can only turn into a werebeast so many times. You get these extra abilities. But I really like the balance of a game where you have, maybe to reference video games a little bit, when you can turn into a monster, you have your human missions and then your werebeast missions.
Yeah.
There's only so many things. If you want to walk into, a nightclub, maybe don't do it as a giant reptile person. Maybe do that as a person, and then get to the back room where you got to fight somebody. Then do the
absolutely. Absolutely. Like, this game is a lot about duality, and this game is a lot about choice. Because in my idea of exploration for werebeasts, and this is now getting back into critique of the kind of media that we have for werebeasts, and it's a lot of the times it is very much, I feel like the human element either kind of is mainly a narrative of let's save the human aspect and not really like explore the relationship of the gray, because yes, you're human, yes, you're werebeast, but you're also both of those things. And and not to quote yet another internet meme, there are 2 wolves in you, which one do you feed, right? And I've meme aside, it is a very interesting idea of like, okay, if we're taking this kind of like concept of like exploration of human emotion and whether or not we're allowed or permitted to feel certain feelings, like rage and anger, agony, and those emotions tending to be disapproved of, what part of yourself are you feeding? One that is more palatable, that is more acceptable to a human society? Or are you going to allow yourself that permission to be a little more, to be a little bit more monstrous, to be a little bit more primal in the way that you explore yourself? And And yeah, and trying to marry that into the mechanics of like, hey, when you advance, one of the main things I want in my advancement system is to have that choice be made very, very stark, because there's separate advancement systems for your humanoid archetype and your beast archetype. So whenever you develop and you grow in your character, you're making an active choice of, I want to improve my human self this time. I want to improve my werebeast self, and having your own narrative reasons as to why you're doing so. And the spirit pool helps with that, because if you develop your werebeast form, you get turn more times. And it becomes very, very fun, and you can introduce cool enemies that I've partially designed that help you, that help kick you out of your werebeast form, just like in Bloody Roar, which is a very, very fun mechanic.
We are definitely going to talk about that.
Yeah.
No, I love that. I love finding that balance, because again, we'll talk about meaty here. We're going to go to break here shortly, but we'll talk about meaty when we get back. But there are all these depictions of not only werebeast, but werebeast type archetypes. You know, whether you want to admit it or not, Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, the Hulk, are both shapeshifters. They are both essentially werebeasts. Bruce Banner just turns into a big green hairless werewolf. I mean, you can't tell me otherwise.
Not the hairless werewolf.
It's like a hairless cat. It's very unsettling.
Oh god.
It's just not all the skin flaps. But no, he is a shapeshifter whose transformation into the Hulk is you know, it's triggered by emotional stress. You know, Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde is chemically based. Whatever you're doing, you're transforming into somebody else that you are then trying to find that balance with. And if you don't find that balance, it's the monster within, the animal within, the beast within. So it's either it's holding them back, or it's finding that balance. And I really like the narrative structure you've created, where you can put your points into human, you can try to hold that monster back, but it's still there, and it's still getting stronger whether you like it or not. You know, it's still going to come out at some point. You know, especially like the character more so that has found that balance and is maintaining that balance throughout throughout their adventures, whatever those may be. Awesome. Yeah, and we can absolutely speak in meme if you want. Maybe your inner lycanthrope's name is Moon Moon. That's fun.
I would clap for any of my players who did that to me, which might be likely because someone did indeed redeem at the highest tier for Beast Within. So I will be running a game for someone, and if someone gives me a werewolf named Moon Moon, I will roll with it with a smile on my face.
There you go. We are going to go to break here shortly. I do want to emphasize to our viewers, those in chat, if you do have questions for Val, questions about the Beast Within, feel free to post them there in chat. You can also join our Discord, post questions there. Please keep them respectful, of course. And I'm seeing that definitely there's some interest in where cassowaries, where salamanders, where sphinxes is an interesting one. Thank you, Eva.
That sounds really fun.
Yeah, I would be interested to see how that would work. But yeah, where mythical creatures, very interesting. Where platypus. So yes, if you have questions, suggestions, any of that stuff for Val, feel free to post those in chat. We're going to go ahead and take a quick 10 to 15 minute break, so stick around. We will be right back. Go ahead and do the things, and thanks for hanging around. Welcome back, everyone, to Sword and Tea. I am Derek Sword. I use he, him pronouns. I am sitting with Val, who is the creator of The Beast Within, an upcoming therianthropic, I'm not even going to say adventure. It is a rule set that you can, is setting agnostic. You can put your werebeasts into whatever setting you like, which I think is a fantastic concept. So, Val, to jump back to media, because we could never, I could literally talk about werebeasts for a solid probably 32 hours without taking a breath.
Ready. I'm here
I
with
die
you.
afterwards, but I die happy.
I'm here to encourage this behavior, actually. Me being your guest was a mistake. I'm not here to stop you.
Fantastic. This was the worst.
It's up to Eva now. It's up to Eva now. We're unleashed.
Even
Ready
if
to
if
talk
we,
about
if we both are like running out of breath, just cut us off, cut us off.
cut us off.
So okay, so the thinking of, we mentioned it at the top, lycanthropic beast kind of movies. What
Mhm.
is your favorite beast movie?
Oh, ooh,
I know
that's
it's tough.
hard. Okay. Oh, hmm. See, there's a lot of considerations into
You can do top 5, you can do top 20. I'm here all day.
I think I think my favorite might be Underworld's Rise to the Lycans.
I respect that. Okay. Yeah.
I Michael Michael Sheen had no right being that good at playing a Lycan.
I love
He
Michael
had
Sheen.
no
Just every time
right.
I see him, like, he's in this, and I'm like, oh no, he's in this. Okay,
Oh my
yeah.
God. So my partner, Max, and I, when we like first started dating, it was during like the height of the pandemic, and
Mhm.
we were living together at that point, because otherwise we wouldn't be able to see each other at all.
We had
And
that.
yeah, and so he and I got him to watch Good Omens with me. And he was
Sure.
just like, "Oh my goodness, Michael Sheen and David Tennant, this is great." And then I brought, yeah, I love Michael Sheen. I especially love him in Rise of the Lycans. And he looks at me, he goes, "He was in a Lycan movie?" I'm like, "Yeah, Underworld, Rise of the Lycans." And he looks at me again and goes, he was in an Underworld movie?" And I'm like, "Let me show you a picture." Shows a picture of Michael Sheen. He's like, "That's Michael Sheen." And I'm like, I know. He does a great job. But yeah, I think that might be my favorite. I'm curious what yours is.
Yeah, and I have a few. I also appreciate. I remember seeing the first Underworld movie in theaters, and I remember because it's Kate Beckinsale, and she does the jump from the top of the, like, the first scene
Kate
is just
Beckinsale, Underworld era, untouched
it's
era.
peak 2000s film where it's just black
Take me
leather
back,
and blue light
truly.
filters. Evanescence, and
Mhm.
but I remember when Michael Sheen pops up, and like, wait, he's a like just a side character in this, and then he gets off to, like 10 minutes later, like, what is happening?
Yeah.
How much did they pay him for this? So I judge a werewolf movie, especially because I love werewolf movies. They're my comfort movie. I can put on a werewolf movie and just fall like into a heavy sleep based on the screams of their victims. It is an issue I have.
Incredible.
I'm not going to address it. We're not going to talk about it. But I even if a movie just has a werewolf in, like, one of my favorite horror movies is Cabin in the Woods, and the practical effects werewolf they have in that, brief though it is phenomenal. It's an incredible it's incredible production. And have you seen Cabin in the Woods?
I have seen Cabin in the Woods.
Okay.
Cabin in the Woods. Worlds? Wow. Well done, Val. That's fine.
So a spoiler to some of you who may not have seen Cabin in the Woods, there is a kind of twist second half to it. Sigourney Weaver shows up at one point. I always loved that Sigourney Weaver, like, part of her contract involved meeting the werewolf. And she, during the filming, saw the werewolf eating by himself, like, at the commissary. She's like, I want more people to sit with the werewolf. He looks lonely. And that's how I knew Sigourney Weaver and I would be best friends. So
that does sound like something she would say.
Just concern for the big boy. It's good.
She did all the Alien movies, so it makes sense. But yeah, sorry.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, if Sigourney Weaver's not a monster fucker, I'm not a white man. I don't know how my go-to werewolf movie, based on the shirt that I'm wearing, American Werewolf in London, even though John Landis is an absolute piece of shit, has one of the premier top tier transformation scenes. I mean, the bones cracking, the hair popping through. I am a staunch supporter of practical effect werewolf as opposed to a digital effect werewolf. And if you mesh them, meld them a little bit, that's fine. The Howling also has a great scene. The Howling movies get severely unhinged after the fact. Even I just watched The Howling 2 the other night, which, even though it has Christopher Lee, is one of the most unhinged werewolf movies. There's
Sort of leaves in a few unhinged movies. People don't think that, but he does have a few.
No, people forget that he started in Hammer Films. Like, he was there for the paycheck. No, there's a werewolf threesome scene where nobody touches each other. It's just a lot of like clawed hands scraping over like Elmer glued on fur.
Yep.
It's great. Werewolf was Howling 3, Rise of the Marsupials. You can already tell that's going to be a banger. But the first Howling movie had a great transformation scene where like the wolf mouth is popping, like the snout is popping out of the guy's mouth, and Dog Soldiers, also a great one. So those are probably my top three. Based on transformation scenes, Dog Soldiers is probably my number 2 because that has some great practical effects. It has every British actor where you're like, wait, they were in
yeah
yeah, and it's just it's great. So I'm glad we sorted all that out.
Yeah, I will have to say special mention to a recent animated film that I've consumed, Wolf Walkers. If y'all haven't seen it, it's really good. It was made in 2020, I think. And it's gorgeous. It's a gorgeous film. Y'all should watch it. It's about werewolves, and it's a very wholesome story. It's a very different kind of werewolf movie. It's a wholesome story about friendship and 2 young girls being friends, and one of whom is a werewolf, which is really cool. So check it out. Yeah,
I love that. Actually, and I should have mentioned Ginger Snaps, which I mentioned before. Fantastic werewolf movie. Ginger Snaps back, less so, but still fine.
We don't talk about that. It's okay.
Really don't. And if any of you have Netflix, if any of you have ever watched Love, Death, and Robots, which is a great series, it's an anthology series that has various types of animated art or animation artists that basically bring their work forward. A lot of it's sci-fi fantasy. There is one called Shapeshifters. It is an animation, but it is like hyper realistic kind of animation. It is one of the coolest depictions of a werewolf fight, and is basically what if the war on terror, the war in the Middle East, the U.S. against insurgents in the Middle East, involved werewolves. Basically, what if the U.S. had werewolf troops, and then the Taliban also had werewolf troops, and they've got to go after each other in the desert in the light of the full moon. It's an amazing action scene. It's very visceral, but fantastic animation. So I highly recommend that. Cool. Well, while we are talking about fighting, where perhaps lycanthropes as villains, you mentioned that you have some enemies in mind for your game. So should be some ideas of what kind of enemies we'd be looking at that you could perhaps throw at your players.
Absolutely. There are many ideas that I've had. One of them is the aspect of playing around with the spirit pool. So I was thinking of, to put on a D&D hat on. There's always those low-level encounters that are easy to dispatch, but are way more annoying than they need to be. And one of these low-level encounters that I wanted to design are these kind of for these I'm kind of like leaning more to a almost like alien-esque, like a more monster rather than beast design. And their whole ability is that they're able to like take and siphon off your spirit pool, so you're not able to do that. So if you are a low-level like tier 1, tier 2 werebeast, that's going to suck, because at tier 2 you only have like 3 spirit points in your pool. So if they siphon one off of you, you can only turn twice. So it's get rid of them quickly sort of encounter, rather than or run. That's also an option. Just run.
Always an option. Yeah.
Always an option. Another aspect of like types of encounters I want to create are, hey, don't you want to just fight a dragon? Actually, because I think that would be cool. Is you fighting a dragon? So kind of like exploring like mythical creatures, larger than life like monsters as encounters. But those are an idea. And one of my other ideas that I have that I've already given a sneak peek for on my crowdfunder as well as on Twitter is an NPC known as Rehan, who is a werewolf. He is a werewolf NPC that you can get with the NPC handbook and the adversary stat blocks that have their own tiers, as well as an add-on for your backing of the Beast Within. And he is an interesting character because he is your typical kind of like underground organization. He's the leader of the Eclipse, and his whole premise is that, unlike other therianthropes, he's had to give up everything for the power that he currently has. Okay. And it's kind of like playing around with this narrative of like, yes, some therianthropes are born, some are made. He like willed it into existence and gave up everything for it, and now like prizes that power above everything else. He made it his whole personality, and it's not a good healthy coping mechanism.
Not a good look.
It's not a good look. It's not a good coping mechanism. If you think you can fix him, if we hit our stretch goals, there will be an adventure in the supplement, in the adventure supplement that will allow you that chance to try and fix him. Good luck is all I will say, but I will give you the opportunity. But yeah, those are the kind of like encounters and monsters, and I like to call them adversaries to kind of give a broad stroke of like the different stories and genres that folks want to play in. Because some folks might just want to do a bloody roar and have like rounds and rounds of combat with other therianthropes, but some folks want to fight a T-Rex, and who am I to stop them?
This is I love this. It's giving me so many ideas for running any number of games. Because the first thing you said is, something siphoning off. It very much has the natural versus the unnatural. Put your therianthropes in space. Go fight an alien that's gonna
fight them.
Go fight an alien that's gonna sap off your spirit energy from you. Fight other therianthropes in combat. That's fantastic. Or yes, fight bigger monsters. Have a group of werebeasts that go and hunt monsters hunting monsters. It's a great kind of dichotomy to have.
Monster Hunter werebeasts, let's go. I would love to see that. Actually, that'd be a
Monster
great
Hunter
game.
The darker GM side of me really wants to run two concurrent games, neither of which know about each other. One is Monster of the Week, the other are the werebeasts, and they don't know that they're hunting each other. But you're like,
my goodness,
the Monster of the Week are like getting clues about the other, and the other one's like, oh, there are these hunters that just like learned about your existence, and they're like, oh, we need to take them out. And then you have them meet, and it's like, oh, okay, well, fight.
This sounds like fun. I would like that. That'd be very, very cool.
And yes, Eva's absolutely right. There's not a game that I won't drop a T-Rex into. So yes, time traveling werewolves. Why not?
Why not?
That movie hasn't been created by the Asylum Productions yet, so I would watch that.
Gotta make our own media.
yeah, I've got to make my own very, very bad media company now to have time traveling werewolves in theaters near you coming.
We got a shit ton of like Sharknado. I think we're allowed this.
Yeah, there's enough multi-headed sharks. It's about time we started sending werewolves through time.
Yeah.
Also, I love those ideas, and again, because it is setting agnostic. Yeah, much to your point, you can have the knockdown, drag out kind of tournament fighting, or you can have an investigation thing. Yeah, I'm not sure if you are a fan of the Adventure Zone at all, the D&D multi-TTRPG podcast.
I haven't caught up in ages, but I did enjoy the first campaign.
Travis ran a game at one point called Dust, which was an Old West setting with vampires, werewolves, that sort of thing. And it was basically an Old West murder mystery, almost like a noir sort of thing, like the robber barons and all that kind of stuff. And this would be very interesting, especially if you can sniff out where the murderer might have gone, or if you can track somebody down, and then the fight would go from there. Absolutely. This has, you've added so many wonderful mechanics that aren't just they're not just narrative, they're not just combat. It's this beautiful mix, and the best thing a game can do, which yours absolutely does, is inspire somebody who tells stories to want to tell stories they hadn't thought about before. It's to inspire ideas, and you've done a fantastic job of that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so we talked about enemies. We talked a little bit about mechanics. I am going to look at my list real quick. Is there anything else about the game that we haven't covered that you'd like to talk a little bit more about?
Let me think really quickly. I guess we haven't really talked about how we kind of like mentioned it was a D12 and then just not talked about it since.
Yeah, let's talk about rolls. Yeah.
Let's talk about rolls. Yeah, we're using a D12 system because I think it's criminal that we haven't used the D12 enough in TTRPGs.
Especially since most people think dodecahedron means a D20. No, it's a D12. Dodecahedron is a D12.
Yep. Yeah. And it's a great die. If you get a metal D12, it's got a nice heft to it. And it's not as swingy as a D20. And I wanted to show it a bit more love. So that's why I made a D12 system. It's because I wanted to show it a little bit more love. And the way it's going to function is for the folks who are familiar with the kind of like gradient of success, similar to that you would see in like PBTA and things like that. It functions similarly with a high roll of like 11 to 10 to 12 is a critical success. A 7 to 9 is a success. 4 to 6 is a success with cost, and 1 to 3 is a critical failure. And as we've mentioned before, where there's a failure, you do get wrath points. And in fact, even in success with cost, depending on what the cost is, I would also award wrath points depending on how severe it is. Just kind of like in Cypher, where if you have a GM intrusion, you can like pay your players to like, hi, I'm gonna just make your life a bit more difficult than the mechanics allow, but here's a little bit of points as bribery. Thank you. I'm gonna pay you to let me do this. But yeah, that's how the dice system works. And when you roll against adversity, if you meet or exceed the adversity, you succeed, which is great.
And adversity is set by the GM based on whatever difficulty rating they basically think it is. So
pretty much,
if you want to try to, pick up a giant mountain or something and throw it at a dragon, probably not going to succeed on that roll. Maybe don't even roll on that one. But
no.
Well, put that dragon in a headlock. It's going to be tough, not impossible. Let's
unless you wanted to do a like Pacific Rim-esque like kaiju werbeast game.
Eva, write it down.
Like that would be really cool, because one of the things I would love for us to hit the first stretch goal, which is the mythological beast art, because one of the things you get at the highest tier in Weirbeast, which is tier 5, is that you can literally, if you want to be a like mythological creature, you can like flavor your transformation to that of a mythological creature.
I love that.
I think that's cool and sick as hell.
Yeah,
like
it is. I would love a were Pegasus. Just you got the wings, you got a were Manticore, you got the scorpion tail. That's great.
Yeah, exactly.
I would love to see a were Voltron, where all of the players have to kind of combine together and make like a Megazord. You got the people that are the feet. They're not happy about it, but somebody's got to do it.
Listen, if y'all, again, that's the kaiju fight. Another suggestion, give me a Werebeast Power Rangers game. I will play that. That sounds fun as hell.
The fact that we haven't had a Werebeast Power Ranger or like a Cryptid Power Ranger is criminal, to say the least.
It really is, actually.
I need a Mothman to be honest. Yeah, it's really interesting. I love that, and I love that you also created the concept that through all of this, you are going to be using these roles, using these abilities against enemies similar to yours who might have the same thing. Because there are so many versions of were creatures or similar. There's dogmen all across America. If you're in Michigan or Wisconsin, congratulations, you have dogmen. We were mentioning all of the
nods in lived in Wisconsin.
Yeah, Beast of Bray Road. That's Wisconsin for sure. So yeah. Oh, I see Gona's here. Hi, Gona. Yeah, I did mention Mothman. You were here. That's fitting.
You summoned Gona here. Hi, Gona.
Apparently. So okay. I love the role system. I love the adversity system. I also love it makes my brain happy that you have adversity and adversary both as the things to overcome.
Thank you for seeing that and acknowledging that. You're probably the first one who's clocked that, and thank you for doing that.
No, I really do like the words that you're using for it. I know earlier you said that you didn't really love strength very much. I think we had vigor suggested in chat.
Vigor is definitely up there. Might is also another thing I've been like considering.
Yeah, might's a good buff, bulk. Yeah, all good.
Yeah.
Yeah, heft, just heft.
Just heft.
Yeah.
Roll heft for me.
Roll heft. Awesome. Okay. Well, Val, I would ask, do you want to try to roll some stuff? Do you think that we're
sure?
Okay.
So I haven't come up with like a full game or scenario for you. So this is gonna be a full improvisational GMing from me, completely off the cuff. So let me just take a look. All right, so let's set the scene. What genre shall we do? You know what? We've been talking about werewolves in space. Let's do werewolves in space.
Werewolves in space. Can't go wrong.
Werewolves in space.
In space, no one can hear you howl. Let's do this.
No one can hear you howl, whether in glory or in fear. And you are on a long expedition into the deep nethers of the abyss of space. You and your team have happened across what seemed to be a desolate satellite in this particular system. However, tragedy has struck. Something has snuck on board. And you are the only one left. And in this spaceship hovering aimlessly in space, the power is out. Darkness has fallen. And it's looking for you. What would you like to do?
So glad that we mentioned Sigourney Weaver earlier.
Yeah, I know. I was literally just like, fuck it, alien.
This is also, I have to imagine werewolves in space every time they pass a moon has got to be so inconvenient.
I know. Everyone's howling.
Okay. If lights are off, I think the first thing I'm going to want to do is try to use my other senses to try to figure out my surroundings, definitely figure out if this thing is nearby.
All right, sounds good.
Okay.
So go ahead and are you using your have you tried? Here's an important question. So we haven't done a full character curation thing here for the audience, because you would typically have your humanoid archetype here, which would give you abilities and bonuses as well. So I think go ahead. So for the sake of this, are you let's say you're transformed probably so that you're able to use your ability.
Yeah, 100%. This is Ensign Pine, Lewis Pine, who goes by Lou Pine.
Okay.
Yeah, I think out of fear alone, knowing that he's the last one on board, lights are off, there's something on board. That's it's go time. Let's transform. Thank you, Eva. This is very good.
So yeah, you have an ability called Discerning Sense. So go ahead and make a check to smell this thing out.
Okay. So that was an 8 on the die.
Whew, well done. I believe that is a success. So, I will read out to folks so that they know what this ability is. So when you make a check relating to scent, Derek can add a +1. So you roll a 9. So that is a success. No worries about cost.
Awesome.
And if it's familiar to you, you are able to identify it and you remember scents you've experienced in the last month. I think in the time that you were here, in the chaos that has erupted between you and your crew members, you had discerned an odd scent. And
all that
now,
acid blood. really acrid.
You felt the acid blood, the kind of icky gooiness that radiates off of this entity, this creature. And now that you've paid attention, keeping your lupine face close to the ground and up into the air, you catch the whiff of it, the faintest whiff of it. It's far away for now, or at least between walls.
Great.
You have time.
Hate that. So yes, you actually made a great point. I should actually read out the stuff. So
no worries.
yeah, pack solidarity when an ally makes an adversity check. I don't have any allies left. That's fine. But you stand stalwart.
For now.
For now, your ally gains advantage when making this adversity check. You mentioned discerning scent. That's the +1 to the roll. If you have experience with the scent that's familiar to you, you're able to identify it and remember any scents. And then I have terror and toss. So it's successful attack, grip opponent, toss them away from you, make a strength roll against the adversity set by your GM. On a success, you toss the enemy away. On a failure, your opponent may retaliate. So, okay, gotta be careful with that one.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Being the last one on board, I am going to try to again channel Sigourney Weaver, and I am going to make as much noise as I can heading for the airlock. So like scraping claws against the wall, like knocking stuff to the ground. If this thing's in the walls, I want it to be following me. I want this thing like on my heels as I am nearly down on all fours, just hoofing it for the airlock.
Absolutely. We haven't done a full character creation thing. So I'm going to let you like just tell me what your stat is for this, because with that like awareness, I think that's a gravitas roll.
Sure.
Like go ahead.
I love that.
Yeah. So go ahead and make a gravitas roll to see how well you're able to coax this thing here.
I'm gonna be honest, that's a 1, so not very, not a ton of gravitas. That is a grav loss.
That is a critical failure. Please take a point of wrath to use for later for your next roll. And I think what a critical failure is in this instance is as you are clawing, you do claw some things. You are leaving marks. You are on all fours, and you're like running down these metallic corridors. And I think you come towards like a junction and swipe into one of the walls, hoping to make a big gash to be louder. And as you do, your whole paw slams right into the metal. And there is the sound of bending metal, and then a squelch, a wet squelch, and you feel a hot, burning pain upon your paw and your claws. Please mark, we don't have your HP or anything, but please mark 1 injury. So the way damage works that I haven't been able to send Derek at all is that when you have 3 injuries, it forms a wound, and when you have 3 wounds, you get knocked out. And you feel this burning pain, and I believe that would cause you to retract your paw away from this, and you see within the wall already, like in these little vacuous spaces between the main wall and the ventilation systems and what have you along the ship, egg sacs have been deposited already into the walls.
Great.
And this doesn't bode well for you. And I think hearing that squelch and feeling that, your nose catches something once more. Your ears flick back and forth. And you hear something in the distance. The scurrying scuffling of something in the vents. What would you like to do?
Okay, so this not just one thing to worry about now. The might as well assume that the whole ship has been Easter, like an Easter bunny packed full of eggs.
The worst Easter bunny party ever. The worst egg hunt.
There's eggs everywhere. Okay, this ship is probably just let's not even stay on this for any longer than we have to. Okay, what I want to do is I want to head for the escape pod now.
Mhm.
But I'm worried that this thing is going to gain on me. So if I can, I want to try to disable the gravity or the artificial
Mhm.
gravity in the ship. So if there is a
Okay.
control panel, what I would like to do is, since my hand is already covered in acid, is basically fling it at the gravity controls, and
That is
then
very cool. Okay.
so try to
Okay.
disable that, and then try to use what's left of my good paw to claw my way along the walls and use that to propel myself, hopefully
Mm,
slowing down whatever this thing is that's chasing me, and get to the escape
yeah.
pod.
I don't think I'll require a check for the control panel. I think like noticing this, you like book. You're part of the ship, you're crew member. You know where the control panels are. And I think you would be proficient enough in your work to know how to fuck up the control panels enough to do that. So
Okay.
no check required, I think, for that. Um, so you're planning to, and also that idea is sick as hell. I kind of just want you to do it. You use your claws and the acid that's on you to trail over the control panels. Is there anything else you'd like to do while you're at the control panels before disabling the gravity?
I kind of feel like if I'm flicking acid at the control panels, there's not much more I can do. I'm kind of just trying to short circuit
Okay.
everything. If I can trigger the self-destruct while I'm at it, if that's like, oh, the worst control panels in the world. This is absolutely
Here's
corporate
a big
space.
red button. Burn, like,
Yeah,
set this on fire.
yeah, it's the biggest button on it. It's the worst UI. Val, I will also have you know, this is the first time I've played anybody competent who's also in space, so this is a first for me. Um, yeah, if I can trigger self-destruct while also disabling gravity, just let's send this ship into pure chaos. If the
Okay.
lights are already off, there's not much more worse it could get.
Cool. I think the perfect role for that would probably be instinct. I
Okay.
think both to have the wherewithal to grab something or be aware of when anti-gravity has been kicked in so you can stay afloat, and to also trigger the self-destruct button. So go ahead and roll me that instinct for me.
That was an 11 on the die.
That is a critical success. And I think with a critical
Nice.
success, not only do you succeed, you can seize narrative control here. Tell me how does this pan out for you? How are you able to successfully not only not get bodied by the anti-gravity, but also trigger the self-destruct button?
So he basically was able to move or flicks the acid on it, um,
Mm-hmm.
and even in so doing, like as it's wearing away at his claws, he's able to press in the code just as like the last talon kind of like wears away. As he's
Mm-hmm.
doing that, he takes his good hand, slams it into the metal to kind of anchor himself, and
Mm-hmm.
as the gravity shuts down, he already has that anchor and just kind of like propels himself down the hallway, this straight
Mm-hmm.
line, and knowing there's a T junction, kicks his feet off, is able to shoot down the other hallway. Again, he's already got this thing's attention, so at this
Yep.
point, making any extra noise, knocking anything over is just extra. But he is able to dodge whatever things are like now floating in the air in this anti-gravity environment,
Mm-hmm.
and is just beelining for this escape pod.
Absolutely. You hear that telltale sound of anti-gravity just kicking in vroom, vroom, as all of the pieces of equipment, crates, tools, immediately mugs, beloved mugs and pencils and pens immediately lift up from where they were. Papers are flying around, and you grab hold onto the wall and begin scurrying along. And as you do so, a bright red kind of time indicator appears upon the screen, and a timer has begun. 10 minutes. And you hear a robotic, effeminate voice speaking through the speakers as she says, "Self destruct sequence activated. 10 minutes remaining. 9 minutes, 59 seconds remaining." And the
I
time.
hate new Siri. She is the worst. These Apple
She is
ships
the
are so
worst.
trash.
I know, it's terrible. And as you are scurrying along the walls, you hear a chittering, a unearthly sound coming from behind you within the walls as it scurries and clatters and chitters, and as you break for it, so does it. You are running. You are running. It's a predator. It's after you.
Okay.
And what would you like to do?
I'm just gonna keep moving. I am worried this thing is going to catch me, especially even in 0G. I'm worried that this thing moving within the walls is going to have too much going for it. So I'm going to keep moving, but also try to like ears pulled back, like trying to listen for when this thing jumps and try to catch it if it tries to catch me.
Okay, so you are keeping aware of what is happening as you are running.
I am keeping aware, yes.
You are keeping aware as much as you can as you are running towards the escape pod, trying as hard as you might to keep your paws and your claws within the walls, within the handles and the railings along the ship. I am going to ask you to make me an agility check as you are running and skittering, because you mentioned you were being aware. You see a long, almost scorpion-like tail pierce out of the wall and attempt to hit you.
Okay.
So what?
That is a 7 on the die. I am definitely going to try to dodge that. If I can, if that thing's coming at me, I want to try to use my tear and toss, and if I can grip it and kind of like in 0G, like roll with it and then kick off to shoot it down the hallway with nothing to grab onto. Like send it in 0G to the opposite end of the ship, full momentum, and then simultaneously push myself in the opposite direction. That's my ideal moment there.
Okay, so I think with how we're going to make this work is that now we're going to be entering into combat. What's going to happen is as soon as you have this cool moment with your success with a 7 on the die, you literally anime style like rotate yourself to face this thing where the tail has protruded out of the metallic wall, and you are now lowered and hunkered, growling and snarling at this new threat that emerges out of the shadows and greets you. And you see this alien entity standing 8 feet tall, slender and lithe, the long sharp tail. You could swear it is eyeing you, even though eyes are nowhere to be seen as you understand it. And it's chittering and tilting its head, looking for you. And you succeed in your agility roll, which means you will go ahead of it in this combat roll. Go ahead and make an attack for me. And if you succeed, you can use your toss and as I forget my own ability, your tear and toss.
Tear and toss, absolutely. I love this because first of all, I love Xenomorph versus Werewolf. That also needs to be a thing. Even write it down. But I also love the concept of like the single like red klaxon light flickering and just showing like this shiny. It's just beautiful. As I understand it, I am going to use. I had one failure, so I'm going to use that for advantage on this roll. Okay.
Yes, go ahead. You have 1 point in wrath, and for folks in the audience, when you have 1 point in wrath, it does equate to you can ask for advantage for your next roll.
So the first roll was a 7, and the second roll is a 12. That is a 12 on the die.
That is a critical success.
Great.
So here's a wonderful thing about critical success within combat here. You succeed in that attack, so you will deal the 1 injury onto this xenomorph. But you can also, now that you've made a critical success, decide if you would like a narrative boon or if you'd like to deal more damage.
Oh wow, that's a good question. I will let you as the GM for this. I will let you interpret this how you want. Okay. Basically, crouch down, snarling. I want to leap like full body into this thing and kind of like turn and kick at it, almost like bunny kick this thing backwards. What I would like the extra thing to be is, as this thing has great reflexes, whatever. I want its tail to be coming to stab me, but me dodge out of the way for it to stab itself. Kind of interpreting that's the only thing that can hurt it. So whether that's narrative or not, I'm trying to push it backwards, whether it takes the extra injury. I would like for it to just kind of like be hindered in that way.
You know what? No need for tear and toss. I think with that crit and what you described to me, get that narrative boom, because you're not asking for more damage, you're asking for distance, and you're asking for cool shit to happen. So what we're going to do is, because of your critical success, you do that. You crouch low, you propel yourself upward to bunny kick it. And as you do so, this pinprick sharp scorpion tail rapidly comes towards you, about to hit you, go towards your neck, your head, and in a split moment of genius, your awareness, this anger, rage, need for instinct for survival from what this thing has taken from you, whom it has taken from you. Your canine eyes flick, lean back, and the tail moves past your face and swings back around onto its arm, and you hear the most unearthly screech emanating from this chittering xenomorph. And as it does so, you have an opportunity. What would you like to do? I'm assuming you're skedaddling to the escape pod.
Yeah, there is no way that I see like this is a 1-to-1 fight where I'm gonna make it out of this. So yeah, this is an escape and let the bombs do the rest. This is absolutely, we are nuking this from orbit.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You skedaddle. You run down this corridor. Your paws digging in and claws digging into the metal as you just full all fours run and sprint towards the escape pod. You arrive in the escape pod sort of atrium, and you hear Not Nice Siri echoing in the background. 5 minutes remain, and as you do so, you see several escape pods. There are a couple that seemed damaged or are on the fritz because of the precarious energy situation we find ourselves in. But you do see one that seems functional. The lights are on, and the independent kind of like battery pack is at full. What would you like to do?
That's the one I'm going for. Battery pack is full. Is top tier.
Top tier. You begin to open the pod and prepare for the sequence. And you hear a voice, weak and tired. Luke. A familiar voice. And with your canine senses, a familiar scent. You see one of your allies, one of your fellow crewmates, slumped near behind one of the control panels, severely injured. What would you like to do?
Okay. All right. Are the escape pods big enough for more than one person?
It'll be a tight squeeze, but you can certainly try.
Tight squeeze is what we're used to in space. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, not leaving this person behind. Definitely going for I'll if I've already gotten in the escape pod, I'm going to squeeze my way out, and I'm going to still in kind of werewolf form. I was going to de-transform in the escape pod, but this thing could very well still be out there. So I'm going to try to fireman carry them, get them into the escape pod, and then turn around, see if this thing has made its way back. If it hasn't, de-transform, hop in, close the door, try to pop off. If not, then we're making a last stand here.
All right. You're in werewolf form. No check necessary to pick up this person. You are in your werewolf form for an hour. When you transform, your form lasts for an hour. You pick up this person and you begin kind of gently, as much as you can, but also rushing to get into the escape pod as you hear the bounding movements of the xenomorph faster and faster and faster, clattering down this hallway, stabbing bits of metal and power strips as it goes. You see the lights flickering near around the control panels for the escape pod, and it's coming towards you. And just as you're about to be fully sat into this pod, I'm going to make a quick roll as this xenomorph comes up upon you and tries to hit you. Okay, I rolled a 5, so it is a success with cost. So how I'm going to interpret that is the xenomorph's tail catches you at the back of your leg. It's a light sting, might mark down 1 injury. And as you do so, it comes at a cost. And I think the cost for the xenomorph that might not be fun would be that your friend, your ally, is lucid enough to find an opportunity to hit the control panels as you are both trying to settle down into the escape pod, and you're being caught unawares just as you're at the threshold of the entrance. And your ally will attempt to make a check, but instead of me making the roll, I will let you, as the ally, make a roll against adversity. And let's make this an instinct check. And you have an ability to call Pack Solidarity if you want to help this person.
You know what? I don't see a better opportunity for it. Yeah. So yes, Pack Solidarity, advantage. Okay, cool.
Yep.
So that first roll was a 10. That second roll also a 10. I guess I'm going with
fantastic. Narrate to me, for this critical success, how this ally not only succeeds in hitting the control panel just in time for the both of you, but how you manifest your pack solidarity. How do you, as the werewolf, stand in solidarity with your ally, with your pack member here?
So if I imagine if I'm carrying him and gets stung in the back of the leg, might go down on one knee just at the threshold. He's looking to close the locking doors to the escape pod area, and instead of dropping him, I instead kind of propel him forward and try to turn to take on this xenomorph right at this threshold here. But propelling him to try to get to the control panel instead of just letting him flop to the floor. Kind of being the shield that he needs for that moment.
You propel him forward to give him enough distance and space to use his whole fist to smack down on the one button to close the doors. And as you do so, you squeeze in very, very closely to your companion as the door slams shut. And as it does so, tear into the xenomorph's tail as the end of the tail falls into your side of the pod, and you hear yet again this earth-shattering, unearthly, chittering scream from the other side of the pod as the doors close. And with that, you are now in the pod, and with one swift motion, you're able to flick the lever and immediately dislodge the escape pod out into space, just in time as you're propelling slowly forward, just in time for a effeminate robotic voice to say for one last time, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Self-destruct sequence activated. And from the bowels of the ship, like a set of dominoes, a fire and a blast radius emerges, and all that is left before that you see before you drift off into the vast emptiness of the vacuous space is the light permeating behind the xenomorph as it shatters it to a billion pieces, as well as your beloved ship. You have escaped.
Very good. Good. De-transform. I'm glad we got my companion, Ensign Lynn, Felicity Lynn, Werecat feeling. I'm terrible. I really hope that this thing didn't lay eggs into me with its scorpion stinger. But I might have some calf babies. Who knows?
God, that's horrific. I hate that.
It's body horror. I played Invisible Sun yesterday. I can't help it.
That'll do it.
Well, that was absolutely fantastic. Shout out to Eva for managing music through all that and working through and for the excellent drawing that we will have to post on our Discord.
Yes.
This was that was such a fun time. Those are great abilities and great narrative structure to kind of build around it. So there you go, folks. Therianthropes, not just for high fantasy, not just for contemporary fiction. They can be anywhere. Have a journey to the center of the earth and make them all Therianthropes. They'll miss the moon, I guess.
Yes.
That was absolutely amazing, Val.
I'm so glad.
As we're kind of wrapping up here, we don't have to wrap up, but we're hitting about 2 hours, and I want to make sure that we have talked everything there is to mention about your game. So are there any mechanics, any features, any story aspect, anything else you wanted to cover at this point?
I am trying to think. The only thing that I would let folks know is that is not showcased so far, but there is the element of the humanoid archetype. I'm still writing that and writing how advancement is going to work of that. But yeah, that's about it. Thank you so much for hosting me. And yeah, we can begin wrapping up whenever you're ready. And yeah.
Fantastic. This has been amazing. This is my first Sword and Tea. This is the first time we've had a game designer on. This was such a great experience. I am so excited to play this game. Yes, much to Val's point, this game is as much about man as it is monster. There are the both sides that must find the balance, find and respect that beast within. Yes, feed both wolves. Why not? Wolves deserve food. You have two wolves within you. Give them both a pork chop. You can support this this wonderful project through Crowdfunder, which is posted in our chat. So definitely check that out. Check out Crowdfunder and give the support. It sounds like there's some great perks to supporting, in addition to playing cards, extra character archetypes to play, monsters you can fight, all sorts of wonderful things. I cannot recommend this game enough, having even looked at a very clean, rough draft. The art is amazing. The rules are fantastic. This is very fun to play if you enjoy lycanthropes, werebeasts of any type. This is great. It's great for your players. It's great to plug into any game. Whether you're playing D&D, have a little lycanthrope session. Whether you're playing Blades in the Dark, give your players a werebeast they can transform into as they're doing a heist. That sounds amazing. Doing Ocean's 11, but they're all
Ocean's 11 werebeasts. Yes.
100%. Yeah. Find your favorite movie, plug in werebeasts. It's now become a better movie. Where
100%.
Yeah. Where Citizen Kane? Well, he was in his bed, but yeah. Where Rosebud? Anyway, where The Shining? There you go. Definitely.
That would be fun.
Support this game. Play this game, support Val, retweet Val, and every little thing helps. If you don't have monetary support, retweeting this stuff is great. Val, where can people find you on Twitter?
Absolutely, everyone.
Or any social
thank
media.
you all. Yeah, thank you all so much for supporting me and for showcasing The Beast Within. And thank you all for watching. It really means a lot. And as Derek said, there are plenty of ways to support The Beast Within, whether monetarily or even likes, retweets. You can find me all across the internet at Valiant Dorian or at Also Spirit Bear. Please enjoy that lovely treasure I just sent you on. And another way to support the crowdfunder is to hit that subscribe, because we do have subscription based stretch goals as well. where we'll be producing more content, and we're pretty close to hearing our 50 subscribers designer Q&A live stream stretch goal. So that is another way of potentially supporting us. For those of y'all, I should also say what my name is. I'm Valiant Dorian. I see him his pronouns. I'm a TTRPG performer, Twitch writer, streamer, and game writer now, game designer and writer now. And if folks are interested in more of the Beast Within content, Transplanar RPG and I are doing the Beast Within 2-shot over on their channel, and we will be playing in a Mortal Kombat meets Yu Yu Hakusho battle royale style 2-shot. And if you would like to go and check us out, we'll be making the announcement soon, and we'll be showcasing all of the playable features of the game, including the humanoid archetype and how that blends into a narrative. So if y'all want to come and check us out, we'll be doing that 2-shot, and we will be raising money towards the Beast Within in that, and we have special incentives for that, which will be very, very fun. Want me to throw ex-lovers at my players and get a game while you're at it? Come ahead and donate, and or if you want to give advantage while getting the game as well, you can do that as well. So not only will you get the game, you can affect an actual 2-shot and make things more exciting for us and our players. But yeah, that's awesome. Thank you all so much for having me. It's very, very, I love talking about this game, and thank you for all the support.
100%. Yeah, it was great having you here. Definitely, folks, support Transplanar. It is a fantastic channel, and Val does some wonderful work on there. Val, I will throw this out right now. If you ever want to do more Beast Within stuff, you are always more than welcome back on Sword and Key. We would love to have more Beast Within content.
I will take you up on that once it's ready for gameplay.
We will also make it a much more palatable time slot than what is probably now around like 3 a.m. for you.
Listen, I'm still on the Beast Within kaiju fight. I think that needs to happen. I think we need a Beast Within kaiju game. Yeah.
Make them all fight a Tarrasque or something. Make them fight Godzilla. Godzilla has it coming.
We're gonna have like the Godzilla monsters movie, but we're Beast versus all of them. That'll be fun.
Yeah, full on MonsterVerse.
Yes.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Val. Speaking for Sword and Key stuff, thank you for sticking around. Thank you for watching this from the bottom of my heart. It means everything. We are going to have more Sword and Teas coming up. Our next Sword and Tea is Wednesday, the 22nd at noon. I will be talking with Ro. She has created a game called Play Ball, which is a JRPG baseball themed TTRPG. So I'm very excited about that, because very rarely do we effectively have real sports tied into TTRPGs. There's like these two fandoms that rarely do they meet, but Ro has done an amazing job to meld the two. I'm very excited to talk to her about that. Other Sword and Key stuff. Let's see. Our next thing is going to be on the 16th, and every Thursday at 4 p.m. Pacific is Fraying Threads, which is GM by Merritt's an Invisible Sun campaign. Every Saturday, we have Horizons Call at 3 p.m. Pacific. Specifically on the 25th, we have a special episode of Horizons Call, which is the Scarlet prequel, so check that out. And then next Sunday, in this same time slot, 10 a.m., I will be running a special one-shot featuring Prisoner 13 from the new D&D book Keys from the Golden Vault, which features a person who has played D&D once before, so it'll be a learning experience as we all go through this module, and kind of it's a learn by playing sort of adventure. So if you've never played D&D before, you are curious about the mechanics, it is a great time to check that out. It's all experienced players, one newer player, so it'll be a great little session. Okay, all of that said, definitely follow us on Twitter, Sword and Key, separated by underscores, sword_and_key, and follow, or you can join our Discord. We will chat more about games like The Beast Within, like Play Ball over there. You can chat about really anything over there. Other stuff, we are going to be raiding Gona today, and I believe that's it. So thanks for hanging out. Thanks again to Val for bringing this wonderful game for us to discuss. Thanks for sticking around. Thanks for if you have any questions in the future, please, you can post them on our Discord, and I'm sure Val would love to answer any questions that you might have.
Yes.
Okay. Oh, and I'm sorry, there is one last thing for Sword and Key. Starting on April 9th, our Ryutama campaign is going to be starting, which is GM'd by Anik. So that is another thing to look forward to. Okay, folks, we are going to end here for the day. Thank you again. Hope you enjoyed your tea. Hope you enjoyed your sword. Have one or the other. I'm going to go let Val get some sleep. And to the rest of you, have a wonderful rest of your day. We will see you again soon.